Welcome to the Blooming League of Original Podcasts.
Hey, and welcome to Thrash and Treasure, the torture chamber musical podcast that pits trashy thrash metal against the classy world of musical theatre. I'm Aaron, and I'm joined as usual by the null bore from across the nullarbor, my co-host Gareth. How's it going, mate?
Good. Did you write that? The null bore from across the nullarbor. Honestly.
Yes, I did. Do you like that one?
No, it's great. I'm doing really well. We've had a stinking hot week and now the temperature's dropped below 30, so happy days.
Oh, you're so lucky because I'm dying in this room. By the end of it, there's going to be none of me left. I'll just sweat it away just from sitting here. I saw that you got yourself a hot date on Words with Friends today.
What's up with that?
She said, what are you doing right that I'm doing wrong?
I get hit with, my girlfriend calls them titty bots, because I get hit with these, I don't know what the deal is, but normally they're women. And this time it was like, there's a little chat thing going on and they always start the game. And it's like, hello, beautiful. And I thought, and I looked at the avatar and went, well, you're a bloke. And I went, hello. And then did this weird conversation and said, what are you looking for here? And I was playing a word game.
Well, okay. So that's what I need to do. I need to play word games, do I?
So I'm play word games. I get hit on by men and women.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's fantastic. Nothing to do with this podcast. It's just
nothing at all. I saw it before and I thought I definitely have to throw that into the introduction.
I'm gonna eke it out a bit more. I'm gonna draw them out and see how much money they actually want from me, and which Nigerian prince I need to deposit my money's bank account into.
I'll tell you, that's a whole other podcast. Anyways, let's move on with the show. Yet again, we're lucky to be joined by another amazing guest. He's an Aussie expat West End performer who has gone from treading the boards at my local theatre, I saw him in 1997 in a chorus line, to then recently appearing alongside Sting in the Policeman's own musical, The Last Ship. He is generally one of the funniest people I follow, apart from myself. Please give a warm Antipodian g'day to the writer and co-creator of Fosse Forest Ballet, Dave Muscat. How you doing?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. I know you're over in the UK, so you're on the opposite end of the thermometer.
I'm upside down at the moment, and I know that you guys are doing it tough weather-wise. So what I'm going to do, it's about 1 degree here.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna grab a little bit of the weather here, and I'm going to pop it in an envelope, and I'm going to send it your way.
So nice.
Oh, good.
That's what I'm going to do.
It's going to take a while to get here because of COVID restrictions, so it'll have melted by the time it gets here.
I'll express post it, mate. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. Oh, sweet. Oh, there you go.
Can I just say that the thing that piqued my interest about this podcast so far is the word titty bots. That has definitely piqued my interest at the moment.
That is definitely 10 points to Gryffindor.
I can't even take credit for it. What a shame.
I know. That's why when I laughed at it, I thought, I'm not even laughing at one of Gareth's jokes. Like,
no,
it's never gonna happen.
All my best material comes from someone else. So
no, that's not true. I occasionally laughed at spontaneity from you. But anyways, this week I was given an album, a metal album by Dave, our guest. As usual, whenever we have a guest on, we're going to get them involved in our stupid little torture game. Because
I still don't understand how we keep getting guests on. Anyway, this is a podcast. This is what we have to do. Yes, all right then.
It's all a bit of fun. It's comedy.
Great. Do you do jokes?
Oh, yeah, at least one of us does. Someone has to make this a comedy show.
Boom, boom.
Look, I'm scripted when it comes to my jokes and stuff. I know Gareth likes to spill his hatred from the heart.
Wow.
And that's all good and well for him, but, that's not me. But this week...
We haven't got to my section of the show yet.
No, we haven't. No. But for now, I was given Ozzy Osbourne's Diary of a Madman.
Yes. It's a classic.
Well, okay.
All right, anyway, but I'll let you talk first because... Clearly.
I only wrote this review about an hour and a half ago. It's not that I struggled. It's when I first saw the album cover, I decided not to make a joke about it. I mean, you'd have to be batty to take a bite out of Ozzy Osbourne. Anyways, after insulting Gareth's art last week, I thought I would express my thoughts about Diary of a Madman in a way which would double down and add injury to insult. So I wrote a poem.
Oh, God.
Don't bother running. I've locked the doors from the outside. S is for a somewhat sedated yet slick 70s sound. But K is for kinda keen for a kinetic energy to kick in. Y is for you can't kill rock and roll, but this song sure might. H has me, umming and ahhing. This ain't so heavy. O is for Aussie, because I couldn't think of a joke. And O is for Osbourne, because I also couldn't think of a joke.
You did.
But K is for knuckle, as in moose knuckle, as in that's all I can picture, along with an S, meaning someone sparking up a doobie with a moose knuckle. The scenes are strong in my subconscious, but serene, not scary or salacious. So S is also for score, which is cemented whilst the soft, sterilized sounds slip away from my surround sound, as though they were a stoner who suddenly smelled the stove door slightly ajar. Overall, I couldn't help hearing a diluted version of a familiar Aussie rock band. 3 guesses who? Which leads me to wonder, at this point in his career, had the Prince of Darkness's titular shade started to fade in the spotlight? I didn't find anything worthy of this title, a moniker which I've heard many times in my life, even before knowing what Ozzy looked like. So after much hype about this album, from not only my co-host, but all of the reviews and research I did, I was ready to put my neck out, head banging to my first ever exposure to Ozzy's music, and yet ultimately, it didn't get me much higher than a 2 if judging it as a heavy metal album, but a 3.5 if I were to judge it as a stoner rock album. But this is a show about metal, 2 stars.
Well done.
Yep.
Thank you.
There were a lot of words in there that I didn't understand, but I'm just gonna go with that. It was pretty articulate. Probably the biggest word that I know. We've all had a couple of drinks. It's fine.
Anyways, if this was a Sunday afternoon, sparking up a doobie on a lawn, going from the Kinks to this album or something like that, I'd be all for it. I want to be tortured by this podcast so that then I can spill hatred on it and give it 2 stars because it was shit, not because it wasn't heavy metal. Does that make sense? We had this problem the other week when Gareth turned all soft on me and gave me something which was all indie rock, and I offended him all the way through it.
It was prog rock.
Prog rock, that's it. Yeah, no, look, I can see why he's Ozzy Osbourne. There was 2 heavy songs on this album.
The answer's in the title.
Yeah,
but I didn't. That's the thing. I didn't hear a madman. I heard a stoned man, which is cool. I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
I think at this point in his career, he was definitely taking a step down from the Prince of Darkness.
Yeah. I've never heard Black Sabbath, so I don't know any of that sound. If that is really Satan worshipping music or what.
Oh,
well, I think the good thing here is that you're on a gradual step up to those sort of, you don't want to get tortured. You don't want a fiery poker straight in, straight away. You need to gradually step up to the torture, I think.
I've never told you anything about my love life. Yeah. Gareth, what do you think? Because I know you love this album.
I do. I love this album. It's a certified classic. It's Ozzy. It's a classic.
But as a classic rock album, yes.
It's 1981. This came out. This was as dangerous as you got in 1981. It was still scary as shit. He's singing a song "Flying High" again. It's what's it about? Of course, it's about drugs. And look, it's compared to today's metal, it's tame.
Yeah,
it is tame.
It is very tame.
But it's. I mean, "Flying High" again. You can't kill rock and roll. Believer. There's absolute classics that Ozzy still plays today live.
Well, I know one of them's his favorite, that "Flying High," and that's actually got a real catchy hook to it. I'm sure that has a lot to do with why people love it.
Oh no, here we go now. Yeah, it's got a great hook. Yeah.
Keep singing.
No.
You've got a professional West End performer.
Yeah, I know.
And
I know.
A judgmental bitch on the other end of the line.
I don't believe that.
I'm talking about me.
Oh, right. Oh, no, you're a judgmental bitch. Yeah.
I was going to say, keep singing. It's
Look, Aaron, I didn't expect you to like this at all.
Yeah, I did not say I didn't like it.
Right. Because it wasn't a glowing review.
Yeah, because I'm looking for thrash.
I know, but Randy Rhoads...
That's not Dave's fault. Dave, I asked him to pick one of his favorite metal albums, and he did, and the repercussions are... It's Ozzy's fault.
I went through the criteria of having a look at my extensive thrash metal library collection here,
Yeah.
and then I reverted to googling heavy metal albums from the 80s, and to be fair, this was the third one that came up in the Google research. So
Right.
according to my Google library, this was the top 3.
This is the one.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's funny because our podcast comes up third when you Google musical theatre and metal podcasts.
Really?
And we happen to be the only one.
I was going to say, how do we
Wow.
come up third? There is no other. No one's that stupid. No, it's You Can't Kill Rock and Roll.
Yeah.
Also, did I mention that as a great song?
Oh, I didn't like that one. I didn't like that one.
Actually, the first side one is genius. I think side 2 is a little bit, if you're going to go, old school vinyl,
Yeah.
side 2 is probably a little bit softer.
What about Over the Moon?
Oh, no, that made me want to put on Rent, which I know Gareth
Jeez.
loved.
Oh, loved it so much.
Yeah, and the cover, I do have an album cover joke. I saw the album cover and I thought, oh, Dracula's Restaurant. I love that place.
It's
I don't-
bloody good.
Yeah. Bark at the Moon has a slightly worse album. Oh, no. Diary of the Madman has a worse album cover than Bark at the Moon. If Google Bark at
It was
Bark at the
pretty
Moon is-
reject shop cover, I must admit.
Yeah. I mean, you think Ozzy's just left Sabbath, one of the biggest heavy metal bands in the world. He's going out on his own. He's got Sharon just driving things.
I was waiting for one of us to do an impersonation. I'm glad it was you. Yeah.
If you know the story of Ozzy, and you probably don't,
Me,
Which is
I
fine.
do. I watched the Osbournes. I knew
Yeah.
as a child, knew who he was because of the bat biting incident. I found out today there was also a dove biting accident. It wasn't an accident.
Yes.
He bit that fucking thing.
yeah.
I think it's safe to say that as artists, we all go through rough patches,
Yeah.
both financially and emotionally. And, sometimes we can't afford to go out and have a steak dinner. So
Yeah, you got to
sometimes
make do with what you
have to
got.
do it.
And not only
Yeah.
that, but the bat was a gift. So he was only honoring a gift. What was he supposed to do?
Or was
Oh,
it
yeah.
an early warning about COVID?
Well, that's true.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Ooh, hang on.
Hadn't even thought of that. There it was.
Actually, you know what? It was probably about a year. No, it wasn't a year ago. A couple of years ago, he came down with a virus from pneumonia or something like that. It was going to lead to pneumonia. And I was reading it and I'm thinking, oh shit, he got early COVID. So now that you've said that,
It did.
It
Yeah.
all pieces together.
COVID came from Ozzy Osbourne. We've solved it.
It was 2019. Because he was supposed to be in Australia for
See?
the Download Festival, which I went to, and I was supposed to see Ozzy, and yeah, he had to pull out because they called it a flu.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
I was reading that and I'm like, hey, that sounds like, because then it wasn't a flu, it was worse than that. And yeah, maybe
Yeah. And it came from a bat. Hello.
that.
Yeah.
Did he tour Wuhan?
Oh.
Because if that's the case,
Just Googling now, Aussie China tour. Yeah. Wuhan 2019. Yeah. I want that tour shirt.
Well, I want the plush toy of the bat that has the removable head.
The headless bat plush.
Yeah. I want that. That'd be awesome. Yeah, I love their family, and I love Sharon. I absolutely adore her. I think she's tough as nails. I think she's a cold hard bitch, but I think she'd be so much fun.
If you didn't love her, she would hurt you.
Probably.
You just have to love you love Sharon or she'll hurt you. Yeah.
get your lawyers ready.
Oh shit.
It's the best thing ever. Sharon will sue
Yep.
us. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Dear
no.
Sharon, nothing from nothing is nothing. Thank you.
Yeah, so Black Sabbath's heavier, are they? I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Almost certainly.
According
I-
to my sources
Yeah.
at Google, they are.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
it's a completely different sound. It's Ozzy's voice,
Okay.
but the sound is completely different.
So I didn't hear a distinct voice that made me go, oh, that's Ozzy Osbourne. I heard Shirley Strawn. How do you pronounce his name?
Jesus.
from Skyhooks.
Shirley, yeah.
That's
Strong,
why
yeah.
the poll
Really?
was the letters SKYHOOKS. Didn't you get my review?
Sky.
No, I wasn't paying attention as usual.
Oh.
Because I don't care.
I think it's in my spam folder.
Hi, I see you're doing something. We should connect and collaborate. God, I so many of those fucking things. Goodness gracious me. Yeah, no, I what was I gonna say? Because I've never heard any of them. So if you named,
So you didn't know any of these songs?
none
You've
of these
never heard of any
songs
of
I've
these
never
songs?
heard. The only Ozzy Osbourne song I've heard is the one they used for the theme song of the Osbournes that someone did a jazz cover of.
Have you seen the movie Mastermind? No, what's it called? Megamind. Have you seen Megamind?
Megamind with Tina Fey, voice actress.
No, it's an animated. It's an animated
a voice
feature.
actress in it. I think
Right. Okay.
Tina Fey was
All right.
and it was about the villain that accidentally kills the hero that was voiced by Brad Pitt. That's what you're talking about, Megamind.
Yep.
And so he decides to
Yep.
become good or something to replace the hero that he killed off.
Yeah. So in Megamind, they use the song which isn't on this album, "Crazy Train," which is
Okay.
probably one of his best songs he's ever done.
I've seen that movie once when it first came out on DVD.
Wow, really? Okay. My kids, when they were younger, loved that film, and I was like, "Dad, you've got the Megamind song."
Oh.
Like, no.
Isn't
no,
that great?
Megamind has my Disney stole my music. Stop appropriating my culture, you bastards.
That's not Disney. What an insult.
Isn't it?
No, that
don't
was
fucking know.
DreamWorks.
Right. Okay. It's all the same.
Yeah.
The
No,
most
I'm a
the most that
big anime
the
fan.
most that I know about Megamind is it's the supervillain Megamind who finally defeats his nemesis,
Yeah.
the superhero Metro Man, but without putting the link below.
You fucking-
and like that's about the extensive research that I personally know of about Megamind.
You're like a Megamind savant, Dave.
I do know that Will Ferrell and
That's Will Ferrell.
Jonah Hill. Yep.
I
Will
thought Brad
Ferrell
Pitt
and
was in it.
Brad Pitt was in it. Tina Fey
Yep.
was in it. You're right.
Yep.
I'm just doing
Yep.
this from memory. This is totally from
Yes.
memory. David
believe
Cross
you.
was in it. Tom McGrath. And yeah, apparently click below for more details. That's just from memory.
Oh, goodness gracious me. You're a dag. An absolute dag. And for our foreign listeners out there, that's a bit of skin that hangs off a sheep's bum. Yes. We'll jump to a quick ad break. I hear a sneak peek of the Fosse Forest Ballet.
Coming this summer, winter, spring, or fall, the first ever musical theater sitcom, where you go behind the scenes of the latest West End show, the Fosse Forest Ballet.
Where's the important stuff? Aha! £1,000 a week ensemble rate. That's what Mamma Mia likes.
Starring Philip Joel and a West End cast featuring Carrie Ellis, Darren Day, Louise Demon, and Oliver Saville, and more.
It all started in 1987 when I was a jobbing actress working in a diner.
Yeah, it's just I had a really bad experience when I was touring Australia with a wombat.
Darling! Mwah, mwah.
La, la.
How long have I been mentoring you? 3 months?
2 years.
So her name is Henrietta.
The horse. Yes. I've managed to secure you an audition for the biggest, most innovative, and the latest show to be going into the West End. Joseph and his Technicolor Dreamcoat. Think more along the lines of Pant.
Frozen.
You can watch this episode for the price of a coffee. Simply go to www.thefosseforestballet.com. Any and all profits go back to theatre charities, Acting for Others, and the Theatre's Trust. You'll laugh, you'll cry, and you'll see a grown man in sparkly tights.
Tight nights. Nice tights.
Are you recording?
Yes, I am. Drinking and
Yes, you
recording. What could go wrong?
Yes. Well, hey, that's very Ozzy Osbourne, isn't it? So, anyways, all right. We're back, and that was a sneak peek of the Fosse Forest Ballet. We're with Dave Muscat, all the way from the UK via Australia, and we're about to find out what Gareth thought about Billy Elliot, the musical, which was that your West End debut, Dave?
Yeah, it was. It was.
And was it your
Back in
Australian
1954.
1950?
It was. So I was lucky enough. I was lucky enough
to have done it.
I was lucky enough to work on it.
Low bandwidth. You're in and out.
I reverted back. I've had to shut down Google because it's just taking too much of my bandwidth down. So I'm flying by the seat of my pants.
Damn.
I was actually just Googling my own career just to try and remember.
Well, you know what? The funny thing is, right? Because I saw it in Melbourne, and I know I had seen you in a chorus line because when you first followed me on Twitter, and I saw your name, and like being a kid, I've talked about it on this show before. All you adults that came through, I mean, you guys were doing what us in the theatre school on, Saturday mornings. We were learning and dreaming of doing that. Well, some of us were, others were obviously there for fun. But was there anyone that you sort of looked up to at that age that that I was when I first saw you?
This is going to sound really lame, but my childhood somewhat run in similar circumstances to Billy Elliot. I fell into dancing as a very, very young kid, but I always had to keep it hidden from everyone else.
Yeah.
All the girls in my dancing school was told not to mention it to anyone else. For probably a good... I didn't really start telling people until I was about 15, 16, 17. And that's when I started doing amateur musicals as well, when I was about 17. And it was a breath of fresh air to be in the company of other blokes, men and women, but more importantly, other blokes from all age ranges, and to be able to sort of sing and dance about and stuff, and it not be a problem.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what sort of pulled me into that sort of community, was because of the acceptance of it. So yeah, I was, I loved all the experiences I had at all of the amateur theatre companies in Melbourne.
Yeah. Did you do any pantomimes?
I don't think so. I don't.
No.
I don't.
I don't remember seeing you in any.
No, I don't think I've ever done a pantomime, and they're quite large over here. But
that's sort of why I bring it up.
Yeah, I've always been doing something else, which has overlapped it. I've done one Christmas show, but it wasn't necessarily a pantomime. But other than that one Christmas show, it was a stage production of Miracle on 34th Street, which was an old American movie.
Yep. The remake with Mara Wilson and Richard Attenborough.
Yeah,
from '94. I remember that one.
Exactly. But these days it's a bit of a different kettle of fish, isn't it? The whole concept of a strange bloke building a relationship with a young kid.
Go straight to jail. Do not pass go.
Go.
Storyline these days.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's it is, isn't it? But which obviously in Billy Elliot, there's a very masculine side to it, all these blokes and all these minors, but then you've got the children, all these little girls running around, so and there's that balance. So I would like to hear what Gareth thought, because if he's going to shit all over this show, he's going to be doing it in front of somebody who has been seen in cinemas across the world in this show, doing the splits and dancing with Ruthie Henshaw. Yeah, that pressure's on Gareth.
Pressure's on me. There seems to be a running theme where I review a show I know nothing about with someone who was in the show, which is, it's like sitting in front of Aussie and going, "You're shit, mate. You're shit." What were you talking about? Bats. You actually touched on something earlier. Okay, Billy Elliot. Everyone's heard of it. I've never seen the film. I still haven't seen the film. I've now seen the musical. I knew the story of it. This is it's weird. I feel like some kind of fucking alien who came down to Earth and went, here's some pop culture. Now tell us your experience, which is and it is, musical theatre is quite alien to me. So And I went, yeah, okay, I'm just going to put it on and see what happens. The first thing that struck me was how good for creativity was Thatcher's Britain, because you can just shit all over that. I had no idea. I mean, I knew the story of the kid who dances and he was a boxer and he dances, but there's the story around they're so working class. They're really hard men. They're miners. They're on strike. They're just fighting for what they've got. And you talk about musicals aren't political. Every fucking musical I've listened to has been political.
No, that's not true. Rent
This
wasn't
is no,
political.
okay, it's not. Anyway, can I just fucking
Hello,
embellish?
Dolly wasn't.
This is my
Yeah,
thing.
okay,
Can
go
I
on.
just embellish?
All right.
He's
go
doing
with the
like Google,
hyperbole.
let him go.
No, rent was probably a little bit political. But it is no, it is quite political, and I wasn't quite ready, I don't think, for that level of sort of seriousness. And it's a stupid thing to say, but it is quite deep. And there's the struggle going on, and and I've been to the north of England, and it's still a very working class area. Geordies are still Geordies, and they will, and they're proud of their working class heritage, and they hang on to that.
It's very deep into the ground.
And that was a little bit surprising to me, just seeing that. And then and there's the story of it. It's probably equally brutal as it is hilarious. There's some seriously funny scenes in it. And the one that, and I wrote a few notes, which I haven't pulled up on my screen because it's taking my bandwidth. And the scene between Billy and his mate's putting on dresses, and he says, "What are you doing?" He goes,
Expressing
"No, it's all right. My dad does it." And I just, seriously, I bent over laughing. And I thought, there it is. That's right there. And I had this sense of dread because they were dancing around, and and he puts on a skirt and a top, and he's got a bloody cardigan on. I thought someone's going to walk in and it's going to be all over for poor Elliot. But that didn't happen. So that was, that's in the rewrite. We'll sort that one out later. I did tweet, and I know Aaron saw it because he had a go.
Yeah, I was so disappointed.
Because
spoiler alert.
My girlfriend walked in and I had my headphones on and I'm watching it on the screen. And she said, "Is that Billy Elliot?" And I said, "Yes." "Are you watching Billy Elliot?" I said, "Yes." She goes, "Did you cry?" And I said, "Well, no, it's not finished yet." And I didn't, but it was, she saw the...
That wasn't the tweet.
No, I know. I didn't. I don't say shut up to her. She brings me wine.
You say fill up.
Please. I say please.
Of course. Pardon me.
The secret to a long relationship is please.
That's true. And thank you.
Oh, please and thank you.
And yes.
And I'll get the next one. Yeah.
Yeah, always yes. And you're right.
and
Anyways.
Now I've completely lost my train of thought.
About crying.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
And
I didn't
You
cry,
didn't?
but, and it's interesting, Dave, that you said this, and your story's far more direct than mine is. And someone else answered that tweet as well, and I replied to them, "Je suis Billy Elliot," because I think we are. I mean, I know I am. I remember, and I'm watching this, and it gave me flashbacks to my childhood, and I didn't become a dancer, but when I was at school, and the boys did woodwork and the girls did cooking. In those days, it was still called cooking. It wasn't home economics. And I didn't want to do woodwork. I wanted to do cooking. And I was, and I can't remember what year it was. It was 70 something, 80 something. I was the first boy to ever do cooking in the school. And I remember, and I felt like Billy Elliot. I remember walking in that classroom, and it was like there was these rows of these cooking stations, and you walked through this tunnel of girls all staring at me because here's this skinny little ginger walking into and want to, wants to cook, and I thought, yeah, Billy, I know what you mean. That one got me. And the other one that actually got me, if I'm going to talk about me for a bit, is I grew up in New Zealand, and you either played rugby or you just didn't do anything else. And I tried rugby for a while. I was a bit shit at it. So I ended up playing soccer.
No.
No, I was shit. I was shit at rugby. I know, I know. Can you imagine?
Hard to imagine.
So I played soccer, and I was actually quite good at that. But my dad, who's not around anymore, but I remember my dad when he realised that I was going to play soccer. It was, well, it's all right if you're a puff. So, and he was pretty old school. So, and I thought, yeah, Billy's dad came round, and so did mine eventually. So, yeah.
Jeez, I'm still waiting for mine to come around.
Yeah.
And that's not even a joke. Like, legit, he doesn't want me being a writer. So, anyways, not about me.
The story is incredible, and what I think what I was trying to say is I knew the story anyway, but I hadn't seen the story, and and I still haven't seen the movie, and I don't know if I'm going to watch the movie. I'm not really sure, because the production of that, and I saw the 2014, and Dave, I think you were in that.
Mm-hmm.
You're in that. What? Okay, my question is, what part did you play? Because there was no beard.
I sent you a video of Born to Boogie.
I pay no attention to anything you said.
God, fellas, listeners out there, send him the hate in the world.
Yeah. So the integral and the integral part that I played, which is I guess at the same level, probably if not more prominent than Billy, was Mr. Braithwaite,
right.
Who is the.
Can't believe they called it Billy Elliot. Yeah,
I know they should have called it Braithwaite the Musical. He's a chap who plays piano in the dance school for Mrs. Wilkinson.
Oh, fucking recognise you now.
God, that's like an hour later.
I didn't know we were name tags. I should have got one prepared.
Yeah. Where's your headshot? Yeah.
I'm meant to be the scatterbrain in this podcast. I'm meant to be the village idiot.
I'm so far out of my depth, it's not even funny.
No, it is funny. It's hilarious for us. But anyways, no, like that jacket you wear, with the white one with the red. I want that jacket. Where is that jacket? That's a fucking fabulous jacket. It won't fit me.
No, it'd swim on you.
That doesn't. Do I look like I'm complaining? That's a fabulous jacket. I saw that. I'm like, yeah, no, I want that.
Yeah.
Fair play.
And there's some really fucking awful fashions or costumes in this show, which they aren't necessarily costumes. They are the fashions of the time. It's.
Oh, you can 100% say that. I mean, it's not like we came onto stage wearing our own clothes. It was definitely a choice.
Yeah.
To reflect the time. There was a lot of wigs that had deep-seated roots, or two-tone roots, which was quite lovely. And a lot of polyester.
Yes.
Yeah, I could smell it from here.
It was like one match and the whole thing's gone.
It was essentially like working in an opportunity shop, really.
The production of that was quite phenomenal, and
isn't it? It's electrifying live. It really is.
Yeah.
Because Billy has to knock it out of the park, and when he does, it's just.
Yeah, I know. And you know what? And I don't want to piss in anyone's pocket, but what really blew me away about that was the level of talent. Like if you're in the chorus, every one of those performers is absolutely at the top of their game. And I just looked in there. How do you find kids that are that good? All the girls could all dance, and I thought, how do you do that? It's
genetic engineering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's basically a factory.
Yeah.
But I mean, the whole you're 100% right. It is phenomenal in the sense that a 10, 11-year-old kid carries a West End show,
Yeah.
you know, day in, day out. I mean, obviously they rotate, but you know, day in, day out, and from seeing it from the other side of it and seeing the process that they go through, it blows your mind, and it blows my mind. You know, a lot of the time these billies that we're getting cast were not necessarily the best dancers, not necessarily the best singers, not necessarily the best actors, but they had
The potential.
And they had something about them that the creative team knew would be able to get them there. And it was a 12-month process of training before they then actually got onto stage. So, you know, the cogs behind the facade were immense.
And then once they hit puberty, were they gone?
Then you know, thank you for your time. Here's your P45.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which that's sad, but you know, it happens.
I mean, by that stage, you know, you got to bear in mind these kids have been working on this show for probably a good 3 or 4 years.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
pivotal years of their life.
They're looking forward to going on to the next phases, and you know, when you have people like Tom Holland and stuff like that who have come from grounding, and when they come out, the world really is their oyster.
Yeah. And the discipline that kid must have as a performer. Well, you'd hope he's still got it after all this Marvel circus that he's lucky to be involved in. He was in that at the end of that film version, but he wasn't obviously Spider-Man by then.
he was filming at that time, but he wasn't. Or I think he was doing Pirates. You know, it's one of those awkward situations when you have a chat with them and catch up how they're going, and you sort of say that, you know, the other week I did a nice little short film for some students down the road, and then you say them, you know, what did you do? And they're like, yeah, I just filmed Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That always is a great conversation to be having with a kid that's, you know, 18, 19.
Yeah. No, but it's not about him. It's a lot of your career. Obviously, you've done Jersey Boys, you've done Flashdance. There's another show that which is one that I probably wouldn't sign up to see. No offense to anyone who's ever been in those shows, but I can't remember what it was.
Flashdance is an interesting one. I'd never seen the music. I'd never seen the movie before going into it.
I haven't seen it today, but I love the song.
Yeah, I mean there is some cracking sort of 80s tunes in there, but it is an interesting show. I think there's a lot more depth to it than what I originally thought going into that one. But it's by no means. I think there's different categories of musicals. I think there's a lot of ones that are very reliant on being catchy music. There's ones that are reliant on being brilliant choreography. There's ones that are a mixture. There's ones that are sort of like Billy, which might be contextualized as a play to music. There's a whole different sort of gamut of different musicals, but there's been some great ones to work on.
Yeah, the funny thing was, as I was saying before, I saw it in Melbourne. Before I saw it, I loved the CD, but I hated the first song. The first song drove me fucking nuts, and every time I would skip the first song. But I'll tell you what, when the lights went down and the curtain went up or whatever, and the projection came on the screen, I had a reaction like I did to Come From Away as soon as they said 9/11 or September 11, right? And I burst into tears through the rest of that CD. But as soon as that film footage came up, for some reason, I just sat there through all of Act 1, the whole of Act 1, crying. I just could not stop crying. My friend was laughing at me the whole time. I don't know where it came from. I was so incredibly swept up in not just the singing, the dancing, the acting and all that, but the interpretation, how they took that story, how they did it. And then a song like Solidarity, which I absolutely loved on the CD, blew my mind on the stage, the way they interpreted that. And then the Angry Dance. Holy fucking shit. Holy shit, how you guys didn't, because they were throwing signs across the stage. I don't know if it was the same on the West End. I've seen YouTube videos of, bootleg footage. I think that was different.
Yeah. The riot scene in Oz was a lot more physically demanding.
Yeah, I
And
looked at. And that's the thing is, I didn't know you were in it because my
Yeah.
program is from Sydney, from the
Yeah.
opening before you joined, right? So it was only 3 days ago that I found out that you were in that Melbourne production. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, cool. But yeah, so I'm glad I got to ask you about that because the Angry Dance in Melbourne was fucking fantastic. I mean, it was great on the West End one, but
Yeah. I mean, with the boys, Angry Dancers, each boy there were I think 4 different combinations of Angry Dancers. So depending on what each boy's main strength was, because some of their main strengths were, you might have had some boys that were stronger tappers. You might have had some boys that were stronger ballet dancers. You might have had some boys that were stronger street dancers, popping and locking and stuff. So each Angry Dance itself was assigned to, a boy based on their skills. But in regards to what was happening around them, you're 100% right. In the Australian version, the riot scene was a lot more physical. We were jumping and diving over police shields. There was punches being thrown. There were things being thrown.
like metal signs across the stage.
Yeah. It was a lot more physically
took my
demanding.
breath away.
There were definitely several times where you'd come off and something was bleeding, but then I think because Australia had such a shorter run in comparison, 2 years, which is still a long run, but when you're talking about a 12-year run in the UK, it's just too physically demanding. So it was definitely pegged back a little bit for the UK.
Yeah, because then they did it at the Tony Awards. So I've seen all 3 versions of that, and definitely the Australian one of that particular number was hands down. Did you do that while you were playing Mr. Braithwaite? Would you also be one of the riot police?
No, I don't think I was a riot policeman as Mr. Braithwaite.
Of course, because he was a he would have been Mr.
Braithwaite. He was a minor. Yeah, he was a minor, but I didn't
know that.
No, but in ensemble tracks, when because I wasn't Mr. Braithwaite all the way through. I came into the show originally as ensemble and covering, and as an ensemble member, there definitely are times where you are playing a minor in one part, but then even on stage in the riot scene, there's a moment where in the Australian version, there's a moment where all the placards and stuff go around and make a wall for Billy. And then all the dresses have come on. They put you in the riot police outfit. They give you a shield, and then the cue would come, and then suddenly all the miners that were there are now suddenly riot police, and they push down the wall and go forward. So you definitely would constantly sort of be changing up.
And it is really a demanding show from all the cast.
It sounds more like WWE than
They were definitely but that was the beauty about that. That's why I love that show so much, was because if you're having, we're all human. We all go through times in our lives where things are not the best. And one of the hardest things to do, if you're doing a show that's constantly fluffy and happy and joyous, sometimes it's really hard to get into that mindset to do that. Whereas the beauty about Billy was, if you were having a great old time, you could really enjoy various parts of it. If you were having a low time, you could really get into the aggression side of it, in a controlled way, obviously. But it was very cathartic to be able to release your emotions in a variety of way within that show.
Because it does get very emotional for a whole bunch of men standing on the stage, and that's, as I said before, it is very masculine in a lot of ways. But that scene where they're passing around the money, pass me the fucking tissues, please, every single goddamn time. And the letter scene that not even that, the grandma's song where she's dancing with the men. And as I said, I bawled my eyes all the way through that. Could you just tell us a bit about the audition process? Because I'm going to wager this was probably one of the most intense audition processes you've been through.
Yeah, the first time that I auditioned for it was obviously back in Australia.
Yep.
I was doing Cats at
Oh,
the time.
okay. Yeah, I missed that. Sorry.
That's
How
all right.
did you miss Cats? Come on.
I was involved in the Sound of Music the next year.
12.
Yeah, there you go. It was,
So from
you know,
one
it was a
turd
bunch
to
of
another.
us in. It was a bunch of us in Lycra with some face makeup on. So that
Yeah.
was sort of.
We're
the
back to
through line
Ozzy
of that.
Osbourne again. Anyway.
But at the time, I was you know, within the gamut of doing theatre professionally was never going to happen. I think at the time I was about 29, something along those lines, and I'd sort of given up on the whole process of doing it professionally, and I was happy to do it, you know, within the communities that were available. And someone within the cast, a very good friend of mine within the cast, just mentioned to me off the cuff that there were some auditions they needed fat blokes that tapped, and you know, that I'd be good for it because, you know, I could tap, and also I liked Big Macs.
And you cannot lie.
So the process to actually get there was actually quite funny because I didn't have an agent, and this friend of mine said, well, I'll pretend to be your agent to get you in. And so she did. She pretended to be an agent, came up with like an email address and a website-y sort of thing and all this sort of jazz, and submitted me for the audition. And then I went to the first audition, and you're 100% right. This process went on for about 4 weeks, and there was probably about maybe 10 calls in 4 weeks. And each time I finished a different call, you know, I might come in to do a bit of dancing, and then a couple of days would go past, and then I'd get a call from my agent, in quotation marks, saying that I got called back to do this, you know, to do some singing, or I might get called back to do some acting. But each time I went in, I 100% walked out of there going, I stuffed that up. There's no way they're gonna want me. But anyway, I ended up progressing until, you know, the finals for Melbourne. And from what I knew at the time, there was finals in Melbourne, there was finals in Sydney, there was finals, I think, even in New Zealand. And at the end of that 4-week process, which was quite grueling in itself, at no point in time did I walk away from that process thinking that I'd done a good job. But 4 or 5 weeks went, I think about 4 weeks went past and didn't hear anything. And then, yeah, I got the call. I got the call from my friend pretending to be an agent who wasn't an agent, but telling me that I just got my first professional job. And then, yeah, she had to pretend to be my agent for the next 2.5 years.
Nice.
Wow.
Did you pretend to pay her?
Yeah, no, I think I actually did from memory. I think I did. I said, listen, you've done work here, take 20% or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But I can't remember what happened yesterday, let alone.
No, neither can I.
You were in lockdown yesterday, Dave.
every
And I
day.
can see your future. You're in lockdown tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, she was brilliant, and she, you know, when she called me, I broke down in tears. It was.
Yeah.
It was it was easily the best thing that happened. And then, you know, obviously doing the show for a couple of years over there, and then a little while goes past, and then I come over to the UK, not to do shows over here. I came over to the UK to work and travel. So I just worked in an office for a couple of years and traveled on weekends, and, you know, did running of the bulls and did La Tomatina and Oktoberfest twice, and, you know, it was literally just a tour.
You did an actual running of the bulls.
The bulls once.
Yeah.
Oktoberfest twice.
Yeah,
Good call.
No, I only did running of the bulls once. You know, never again. But Oktoberfest, I mean, if I could go back each year.
Yeah.
The talk up stages, amazing.
Oh yes.
Wow.
But then I went through a whole process of auditions here in the UK for the show, and they, you know, obviously with a long running show, they only do cast changes once a year. So it was on my 3rd year of trying to get into the UK production that I actually got into it. So even that wasn't an easy process. It wasn't a case of coming over here and then just going, oh, cool, you've just landed.
No.
Come straight into rehearsals.
You have to do home and away to get that.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, so it wasn't an easy process. And I went through the same trajectory of being ecstatic at the end of it.
You went into Billy Elliot. You auditioned for Billy Elliot. You started out in the ensemble and moved to Mr. Braithwaite, or did you audition for Mr. Braithwaite?
No, on both occasions I was going up for ensemble tracks.
Right.
And those ensemble tracks have covers. So in Australia, I was Man 8.
Man 8. So much better than Man 9, though. I mean, that guy.
So much better. Not as good as Man 7.
No,
but,
him.
but Man 8, and I covered Mr. Braithwaite and I covered George in Australia. And then when I came here, there was no Man. They didn't have Man 8s or whatever. They just had ensemble track, whatever. But I covered Mr. Braithwaite over here, and yeah, it was brilliant. I guess it was a great, for me personally, not really having that much experience with professional theatre beforehand. But for me personally, those first, 2 years back in Oz, and then I think about a year and a half here in the UK of being in those tracks and learning those roles as a cover was a great process to really graduate me to that sort of level of being able to do those roles day in, day out.
Yep.
I personally found. So I was quite, looking back on it, I was quite fortunate to sort of have that graduation to those areas.
Yeah. All right. So after Billy, and then obviously now you've just put out a pilot episode, or proof of concept, which for those at home, it's exactly what it sounds like. It is proof that this concept works. And that's for a theatrical sitcom called Fosse Forest Ballet. Now, I have to know, did you deliberately write yourself and give yourself the only likable, relatable character out of that cast? Because they're funny characters, don't get me wrong, but they're very vapid and shallow and all about them. And here's this one adorable guy who is downtrodden. He's the underdog. He's clearly the hero of this story. Did you give yourself that character deliberately?
I purposefully gave myself that character in the sense of remembering at that point in time the restrictions on filming, the restrictions on getting people together was quite heavy. And so there was a couple of moments where I had to really think about scheduling wise, how much time can I actually get people in for, and when do I need these characters, if they're in scenes with these other characters, to be scheduled in, and bearing in mind, a lot of people were giving up their time for very little money. So the only reason I wrote the sort of story arc for my character in that point was because I knew that I was going to be at the venue for 24 hours a day. For the 2 days. So it wasn't necessarily a case of writing it. Yeah, it wasn't necessarily a case of writing it to say I want everyone to look at me. It was just a case of knowing that I didn't have to try to put the responsibility on someone to learn, a page of dialogue, but then also have to factor in that time. Now, that being said, it's still the first episode. So I guess the grand theme of things would be that over the course of a series, there would be other moments where various characters would develop more.
Of course. I don't get me wrong. I'm not criticizing your characters, but obviously they've been written in a way. I'm not stupid. I did enjoy it, and I got obviously a lot of the in jokes, but I did notice that they were all very much me, and here was this one guy. He's a bit dopey and all that. It was the relatable character that us at home are to warm to.
Yeah, I think that was definitely a planned thing to have characters, to try and have characters that were like that. Obviously, with one episode, you've probably got only an example to give a few of those two. Whereas like I was saying, over the course of the series, I would suspect that you would see more of those contrasters coming from some of the other characters as well. But
growth, yes.
yeah, in regards to the technicalities of that, you know, the main reason why my character had that sort of separation was purely because I knew that I was going to be there for 2 days.
Yeah, that's the one constant there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I that makes sense. Obviously, I did warn you there was a cheeky question coming about Fosse.
No,
And
no,
that was
it makes 100% sense. And like you said, it's definitely a proof of concept, and there's definitely improvements to make on it. But I think as a first entry into the waters, I think there's definitely room to develop on some of those characters as we potentially move into other episodes.
But you're also a very naturally funny guy, just in general. Right? Your humor's very much my sense of humor. I don't laugh at very many people. I could be having conversations with someone and they're laughing at all their jokes. See, listen to that. Yep, because I never laugh at his jokes. It's not that I'm humorless. It's I laugh at a certain type of humor, and I always laugh at your jokes. Well, most of the time, if I'm sending you a GIF going boo and throwing tomatoes at you, I probably laughed at it still, but I'm calling it out for being a terrible fucking joke.
I was just going to say, I think my philosophy is if I throw enough shit at a wall, something will stick. So I'm more about levels. If I throw enough jokes out there, someone's going to laugh at one.
Exactly. But look, what I'm saying is I'm not just needlessly being all what's the word I'm looking for? Kiss-assery, basically. I wouldn't blame you. Like everyone else would write themselves the likable lead role and put themselves out there, and they haven't got half the fucking talent that you've got. So look at half the YouTube videos that are out there.
To be honest, I never really saw Bob as being as prominent as what people have taken away from it. If I'm absolutely honest, when I wrote it, it wasn't necessarily a case of going, I want to position myself as being a lead more over someone else. That was never the case, other than the fact that I knew that technically I wanted there to be a dip in the storyline. I didn't want it to just be fluffy. I wanted there to be something that people related to. And the only sort of mechanism to do that was for someone to go through the process that he went through. And technically, I could only assign that to myself only because I knew that I was going to be there for a couple of days. But the outcome of you know, and bearing in mind, Phil plays, I think, 7 or 8 characters in the whole thing. And, you know, it really is testament to his comedic skills and his comedic development over the initial lockdown that we had as well. But yeah, no, it was definitely, it was a conscious decision, but more in a way of scheduling wise rather than, you know, I hope Hollywood sees this and makes me the next Daredevil.
Still,
No, because that was, oh dear. Excuse my ignorance. Did this idea come out of lockdown? You in the first lockdown, did you just go, I've now got no job. There's, you know, theaters aren't open. What do I do? I could dance in the corner for the rest of my life, or I could write something.
100%. I was touring the US up until the pandemic hit.
Yep.
And then we had to retreat back to the UK.
It's not a good retreat, but anyway.
You know, the initial couple of weeks of the very first lockdown.
Yeah.
It was a situation where I think everyone was under the impression that, you know, we'll have a couple of weeks off work and everything will be fine.
Yeah.
And as it sort of passed that initial 2 weeks of everyone just rinsing Netflix and, you know, spending time painting in the garden and this, that, and the other. And the realization set in that this was something that was going to be here for quite a long time. I think everyone was faced with a decision. And I knew that I could either play PlayStation for the next 8 months or just try to do something that would fit with the restrictions that we had. And at that time, we knew we were going to be in lockdown 1 for about 6 weeks. And we knew that theatre was probably going to be affected for quite some time because of the fact of trying to get 2,000 people in one roof, under one roof. Even if other work areas started coming up, theatre was always going to be quite a difficult one. So early on, I identified that we would be able to film things before we were able to rehearse things to go into theatre. So that was an initial thought. And then from the boredom and from the restrictiveness, there were quite a lot of social media videos coming out. You know, people that I'd worked with before and other friends in the industry were doing some absolutely amazing and very funny, you know, little videos here and there. And it was great to see that there was a desire for theatrical things, even though people couldn't go into an actual physical theatre. But there was such a demand for it. So I guess the initial thought of what is the first thing we'll probably be able to do, combined with, is there a desire for people to want to see theatrical things? And I was able to make that relatively simple equation work quite quickly. So one of the blokes that was making those funny videos was Phil Joel. He was really one of the pioneers of the quick satirical theatrical type videos, and I'd worked with Philip on a couple of projects over the last 4 or 5 years, and I reached out to him and I said, you know, I think there's something that we can do to sort of expand upon the content that you've been making. And at that time he was being approached by a load of different people, different producers, you know, venues trying to get him to do one-man shows, and essentially he took some time to think about it. And you know, I presented him with an idea of potentially trying to turn this into some sort of TV concept, and he took some time to think about it, and then he decided to sort of come on board. And we spent the first couple of weeks really sort of working out the parameters, like what we wanted to try to achieve. The main thing that we wanted to try and achieve was to give people entertainment, give people a mechanism to escape from the grimness that was happening, have a few laughs, because you know, at this point in time and at that point in time, if you didn't laugh, you cried. So that was always the main focus. The second focus was to try to be able to provide some sort of example once things start getting back to normal, have some sort of example of what something like this might look like, and so that we can potentially see whether or not there might be any interest. And then the third part of it was, you know, if there is a way to try to generate support for the industry that we love in a financial way, we sort of felt that it was more necessary to go down that route, rather than, you know, we had three options. We could either film it, put it on YouTube, let everyone have access to it, and that was it. It doesn't really it ticks the first box, or we could put it online and we could charge people a little bit to see it. And then the two avenues we had from there is either try to profit from it and make some money out of it, or try to give back to the community. And that's the area that we took. So we committed quite early on that any profits that we raised from it, we were going to donate to the theatre community, and that's where we're at the moment.
That's why I was happy to let you guys have our ad spot while we're still an upstart podcast, because you guys are doing this and giving back to the community. It's not just about getting your show out there or whatnot, but as performers, obviously, you know, need the exposure and all that. So
I don't know what it's like in the UK, but I can tell you in Australia the arts are forgotten in the middle of this. Absolutely. And it's criminal. And you know, I do lots of reviews, album reviews, gig reviews, and I get free shit all the time. I don't pay for anything. And I got approached the other day, and I said, "Oh, we're doing," because in West Australia we close the borders. We're pretty free here. Thank God. You know, we've kept it out, but there's still certain restrictions on venues and that sort of thing. And local bands are doing it really, really tough. And you know, I was, oh God, it was $60 for a ticket for this show. I was take my money, because you guys need it now. And they were doing it for the same sort of thing. I was like, you know, I think fans, I mean, you're a performer, you're an artist. Obviously, it's your bread and butter. Of course, you know, it's a great thing you're giving back. But I think a lot of it, fans need to stick their hands in their pockets and go, well, you know, not everyone is Metallica or, you know, or Beyonce or, you know, or J.K. Rowling, whatever. You know, you know, you need to give a little bit back. And it's not I don't think it's a lot to ask for years and years and years of entertainment, and God knows it's all free now because if it's on YouTube and it's on Spotify and whatever.
Yeah.
Just give a bit back. So not pissing in your
I
pocket,
think,
but well done.
Yeah. No, cheers, mate. Cheers, mate. And look, we tried to make it, because everyone, the arts are struggling, and you're 100% right. We've gone through. This is our third lockdown now.
Yeah.
At the moment. We're in lockdown, nationwide lockdown until mid-February at this stage. Yesterday we recorded the highest level of cases and deaths at the moment. So even with 3 lockdown and also a period of a variety of different tier restrictions, essentially the last 10 months, 11 months, from the arts perspective, it's just been crippled. There's no sort of shirking the offer. And you're right, for artists who might be of that elite sort of top level, they'll see a bit of a dip, but it's not necessarily something that's really going to affect their lifestyle. But where you look at people who were trying to get into the industry and had just graduated or had spent a couple of years studying to try and get into the industry, or those that were playing sort of entry-level roles and stuff like that. For a lot of us, the last 10 months has just been absolutely crippling. But we purposefully tried to make the minimum donation amount of £3.49, that price, because it's the price of a coffee over here, really. About £3, £3.49 is the price of a coffee. So rather than we have had some people that have actually contributed, £20 and £30 and stuff like that, which is amazing. But we wanted to try to also make it accessible as well. So £3.49, and it still blows me away that people still come into the website and watch it, and it's that in itself is amazing. But it definitely has been 6 to 7 months of blood, sweat, and tears. A lot of tears, a lot of stress to get it to the point where it is at the moment. But it's quite a weird feeling to just also not to get a lot out of the project in other levels, but not financially at all. It's quite a weird position to be in, but I'm still every day pushing to try and get more people into it so that we can get to a point to pass on a decent donation to these charities, because these charities that we're sort of working for, Acting for Others and Theatres Trust, they do a lot of crucial financial and emotional support for people within the industry and venues within the industry as well. So now more than ever, they need as much help as possible.
Yep.
Yeah. I think
sobering.
We've pretty much,
it is. I could rant on about the support of the arts for days, and I'm not going to, because it makes me sad. I mean, my wife works in film and TV, and it straight away every production in Australia shut down. So it's felt right through.
It is. It is what it is. It's terrible, but we're everyone, not just ourselves, not just those who are signed to the Fosse Forest Ballet, but everyone in the industry is doing their utmost to support each other, and get through this. We're all trying to do the exact same thing, and that in itself is humbling to see. And you can only just hope that come May, come June, come July, that potentially there might be some sort of reactivation. But we'll wait and see.
A lot of people are under the impression that artists, just because you're in a movie, that you are earning residuals for the rest of your life from that movie. It is nonsense. You do not earn that. Not everyone has a fucking private plane. Calm down with your whole, you're a celebrity, you must be rich. No, like if you were on a TV show in 1995, but haven't worked in 15, 20 years, you're obviously going to be working at a supermarket or somewhere like that, because you're not still earning money from that TV show. People at home need to realize this.
Tom Selleck isn't working in a
I think there were some variations of contracts from sort of pre-2000s, where potentially there was some sort of royalty factors in place. That might be quite minimal, but definitely I agree with your point. Within the last 10 odd years, a lot of commercials, a lot of films, a lot of, even the filming of Billy, for example, we don't have any royalties from that, even though that had been played year on year for the last however many years. We got paid a flat fee, and that fee was also, at the time, it was at the time where not many other shows had done filmed performances, so there wasn't really any catalyst in regards to what that fee should be. So, but regardless of the point, the point is that if you see Billy Elliot come Christmas time, or if you're it's sometimes it appears on TV and stuff like that. I don't suddenly get 30 pence
anything from that. Exactly. Yeah. And people at home do need to realize that, because I hear that argument a lot, and I have heard it this year with people going on about artists and, they're a celebrity, they're going to be fine. That's not necessarily the case, unless you're Tom Cruise, for crying out loud, or Gwyneth Paltrow, born to
insane
movie
people.
star parents. Yeah, well, that's it.
But if you
I think if you're a celebrity, I think there's a bit of a difference. Though. I think if you're a celebrity, I think there is a moment where you've generated some cash, and then the decisions that you've made based on that financial gain from becoming a celebrity, I think potentially, more often than not, may ride you through these rocky times. I think the crucial area to focus on is, the celebrities probably make up 10% of the people that work within our industry. The other 80% from graduates who have come straight out of college, or people who are studying at the moment. And then all the other people that you see in shows that don't have 1 million followers on Twitter or Instagram, or haven't been in Celebrity Big Brother, or haven't done those sort of things to sort of garner some financial growth out of. It's that 80% that is doing it really, really tough at the moment. That 80% that is on zero wages at the moment, and has been for the last 8 months. So they're the type of people that, it's not to say that celebrities don't need support as well, but it's the 80% that are doing it quite tough.
And it's not all of those 80 people are not part of the 20% for a reason. So the guest we had on last week is someone who he does technical direction and sort of live broadcast production and stuff like that. So he's been lucky to work from home a few times, but still, like, when you think of all those people that are behind the scenes, and even in a theater, you've got your lighting, you've got your rigging, you've got your orchestra, you've got your set
orchestra pit, right down to the roadies,
your crew, you've got your seamstresses and your wardrobe mistresses and dressers.
100%.
It's not just the actors.
Look, it's what you see on, theatre it can be perceived as a bit of an iceberg. What you see on stage is the tip of the iceberg. The 30 odd people that you might see on stage, the actual people, the amount of people that go into making that production happen, you're 100% right, is all the other factors and all the other departments that make that production running, and some of those skills, those if working crew or working lighting or working sound or something like that, some of those skills aren't transferable in a lockdown situation. So it's also them that are doing it. We're all doing it tough. It doesn't necessarily by no means is it just the actors doing it tough. It's everyone
exactly
within the industry.
So if someone out there wants to give a little bit back, where do they find your project, David?
So all they need to do is we've created a website. The website is simply www.thefosseforestballet.com.
There it is.
I'll put a link below in the description.
Yeah, that'd be lovely. Or you can search me up on my socials. There's always a link on my socials, which is simply just at David M. Muscat. I spent a lot of time in regards to building that platform so that people can make a secure donation. And from that area or from that website, they can make a donation, they can watch the episode. They've got 24 hours access to watch it. So even if you want to organize it in the morning and you want to watch it that evening, you can still go on, whack in your contribution. You'll be assigned some details. You'll be able to go back into the page as much as you want over 24 hours just to watch that episode and hopefully have a few laughs and enjoy something that is a bit different, but also feel good in the fact that you're contributing to something artistic that we did, in a tough time.
And something original.
Yeah. I mean, it's not the first time someone's done a TV show. There have been a couple of
No, but the storyline is original.
I don't profess to create TV.
No, you certainly put me in my place there. I was shrunken about this big right now.
No, it's just in jest. No, I'd like to think it's something original, but
it's certainly no Smash, because that was. I mean, I like Smash, but it was just so serious. This is comedy, and this is, it is very theatrical. The in jokes are there.
Yeah.
And not only that, but there are heightened performances, which I always enjoyed. Obviously, mostly from Philip Joel. The triple threat. He's more of a quadruple threat.
He is whatever the word for 7 times effect. That's what he is. But I mean, some people really actually amazed me, I should say. I thought Louise Dearman was absolutely her comic timing in her scene. I thought was absolutely remarkable.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the people that were involved, given the fact that these guys got given a script, had very short time to actually figure it out. We had a very short time to film it. I think everyone sort of produced some magic along the way, which was great to see. I definitely think, given more time and more focus, we can improve upon it. But I think for what it is, I think if you don't laugh at least 4 times, even if it's an internal laugh, then look, I'll give it's a money back guarantee.
Oh, I'm on 2.5. Sorry, I almost made it there.
If you watch it again, you'll laugh twice again. So that's 4 laughs.
Well, just I want to bring it back to Billy, because obviously you did the live version, or the filmed live version. Well, us in the industry would call it pro shot, because it's professionally shot, as opposed to a bootleg audience member sitting there with a camera under their hat or something. Have you ever seen anyone doing that?
A million times.
Oh, really?
A million times? How many phones? How many phones have gone off, and how many times have you wanted to throw said phone at that person?
There's definitely been numerous times where phones have rung during the most awkward bits. Definitely through the letter scene.
Oh God, no!
Oh no!
Through poignant moments where, definitely mean, through that. I remember several times that happened. But going back to people filming, I mean, I think most of us have sort of been on a stage before, or at least know what it looks potentially from a stage perspective. You do see the first 3 to 4 rows quite clearly, and there's always times where you see someone sort of slunched or slouched in an awkward position, just sort of casually leaning to the right, and you can sort of see the glare from the backside of their phone whilst they try to pretend like nothing's going on. But look, several times you
totally
see people.
I don't know if
I've personally got nothing wrong with it. It doesn't bother me, but I just know the rights and all that sort of stuff.
You're not Universal, that's why. It's the suits that care. It's not the artists necessarily, because the artists are doing it anyways. The artists pass each other around. You think Elton John isn't passing fucking bootlegs around to his friends? He might be Elton John, but he's still doing that. That's what they do, because when someone does something that they want to see, they get out and bloody see it. So,
exactly.
Have you ever wanted to pull a Patti LuPone on somebody's phone going off?
Not personally. I mean, no. there definitely have been times where I've heard a phone go during an awkward situation. It is frustrating, but look, at the end of the day, how can I throw stones at someone where I know that that's happened to me in various situations as well? In meetings with other people and your phone goes off, or when you're on a date with someone and they're trying to tell you off for something and your phone goes off, or
Who's telling you off on a date? What type of dates are
God.
you going on? Are you being told? Are these maybe like certain
date
paid
very
dates that might have a lot of
This
leather?
is a new
Sorry?
podcast.
Yeah, so just, well, just still on Billy in terms of the filming live.
Yeah.
Was there
Yeah.
anything you guys had to change in your performances? Because non-acting people might not realize that acting for the stage is very different to acting for the camera. For the camera, it's about the eyes. On the stage, your body is your tool. So, was there anything you guys had to change for close-ups and things like that?
Not massively, and the reason being, and you're 100% right in what you say, but the reason there was nothing majorly changed was because this was still a filmed version of the stage version, as opposed to us trying to make a movie version of the story within our four walls. So we were still told to do what we do on a nightly basis, but there were some minor shifts of movement. We had it was a massive situation. We had three or four different camera operators on different cranes. We had half an audience in. We had a roving person with a harness. It was definitely different, slightly different to what we did on a nightly basis, but not to that extent of let's film it as if we're doing a film version of it.
Not lowering your performances or anything.
Yeah. We were still advised to give the performance that we would do to an audience within the theatre.
And is it true that when Maggie Thatcher died, were you involved with that vote, or were you there? So there was a vote about that song. Oh wow!
Yeah, so we actually had rehearsals that day when look, regardless of what you think of Maggie Thatcher or what your thoughts are, it's still someone passing away. So that in itself is a sad situation. But when she did pass away on that day, we actually had rehearsals in for a new Billy that was coming through. So the entire cast were in afternoon rehearsals, and then the news drops just before we got in there. So obviously when you turn up, it's sort of like, what's going on? And the associate director, Julian, came in and he sort of told us that we're coming up with what's going to happen, but obviously there was a lot of talk from the people way above us. And then towards the end of that rehearsal, we were then presented with the option that was at the interval. If you've seen Billy, you might know that George and Tony come out and they are pretending that they're running a local community pantomime. So they're engaging with the audience and this, that, and the other, which just happens in the show naturally. But the option that was presented to us was that George and Tony were going to come out. They were going to do their little bit of stick, which they usually do, which is in the show. But then they were going to break out of that and they were going to give a little speech. And the little speech was along the lines of, we all know about the situations that's occurred today. We do have a part in the show whereby we sing a song about this person, and it's not necessarily in the best light of that person.
And
but we
celebrating her death in the lyrics, or her looming death in the lyrics.
Exactly.
Like, what, she fucked them over, these miners. Like, so they were pissed.
Within the story, within the story, she fucked them over, and we were pissed at her. But outside of the story, we were still just people human on a stage. Exactly. So they essentially they threw the decision to the audience, and they said, we can either skip past this bit or we can do it as written. What would you like to do? Would you like us to do this bit? And then the whole crowd erupted.
Do it.
And so we knew that we were going to do the bit. But the funny thing was, there's within a West End theatre, there's a lot of tourists. There's a lot of people that aren't necessarily from the UK. And so, a lot of people just sort of say, yeah, no worries, not necessarily knowing what's about to come up. And it was definitely one of the weirdest experiences doing that song, and seeing some people's faces just drop
Yep.
when they realised what we were actually going to do. But it was definitely weird.
Yeah.
Was that puppet haunting after she died? Would you be alone in that theatre with that puppet?
I mean, you wouldn't want to be alone in that theatre with that puppet anyway on a normal given day.
Anyway,
But I think we're going to run out of time.
We're going to run out of time, and I really want.
So we'll round up.
No, I want to round up, and yeah. Well, you should round up, but I want to thank David. So thank you so much for your time. It's been an education and absolute pleasure. So thank you so much.
No, thank you for the time and effort that you guys are putting in.
Yeah, no, anytime you want to come back and join us, you're more than welcome to. And I always need
anytime
people on Team Musical to gang up on Gareth. So we're 3 for 3 so far.
Yeah.
But so anyways, anything to plug? Obviously, we've done all that with the thingo. People at home, buy the Toniston Tales, read the Toniston Tales, support artists. I am one. Please read my novels and check out Gareth's articles. He's got his end of year review from the year everyone wants to relive, don't they? So thank you very much, Gareth, for forcing that on us.
It was just the music. I was talking about the music. Head over to wallofsoundau.com. Read my end of year wrap up. I've got an album review about to drop. So yeah.
I'll have you.
Yeah.
I hope it's not as good as my excellent Ozzy Osbourne review.
It's slightly better.
Before we go, we need to swap albums.
Yes.
Now this week I'm giving you, and the CD you're getting is very easy. Another amazing show. 4 letters. Hair.
Oh, fuck off.
Long, beautiful hair. Yep. So it's an easy week for you. We've got 5 days to put this episode together. So
hair. I've never seen hair. I know nothing about hair. So surprise,
there
surprise.
You go. Don't you even know like Aquarius or any of that?
I know the age of Aquarius, and
you probably will know a couple of
David
songs.
and I are both Aquarians. I found that out today. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. 2nd of Feb.
That's what makes us so good looking.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Anyway, I'm going to give you, we're running out of time. I'm going to give you Faith No More, The Real Thing. It's an absolute classic. You'll hate it. The
Faith
Real
No
Thing.
More,
You'll
The
love
Real
it.
Thing.
Okay. We have to go.
Come and see The Real Thing. Yes. No worries. Excellent show. That was an episode.
Stay safe, David. Thank you so much.
Go down in history. Have fun. Oh, so Gareth's score. He totally forgot to give it. So I said to him on Facebook, what's your score for Billy Elliot? And his words exactly were 4 stars, fuck you. Alrighty then. And also support us on patreon.com/blooming theatricals. That's it from us, folks. We'll see you next time. Hooroo.